welcome to our latest Hoopcast. Pat Dooley and Kevin Brockway, the Gainesville Sun, coming to you from the Gainesville Sun newsroom. And we're going to talk a little bit about Florida losing to Tennessee and preview the next game against Mississippi State. And Kevin, Florida had a chance to pick up some RPI points. There's no question about it with Tennessee with a strong RPI. But the Gators, for the first 10 minutes of the game especially, were just awful.
Yeah, they were just flat and didn't come out with, obviously the defensive intensity that they needed, allowing Tennessee to make shots off the perimeter. Not really getting much off the press. I think they only got 4 points off turnovers the entire game. And just really came out with, not the kind of sense of urgency you would think for a team that's fighting for an NCAA tournament bid. And from there, I thought came on a little bit late. But, when you play uphill like that, it's awfully difficult.
Well, one thing I heard them was Tennessee's length. And Tennessee's a terrible matchup for Florida, the same way Vandy's a good matchup. I mean, Tennessee's so big. I mean, at one point you have Walter Hodge guarding Scotty Hobson. It's a foot. That can't happen. Irving Walker at one point was covering J.P. Prince. I mean, that's more than a foot. And so I think that was an issue. And then down the stretch, when the game got tight, Florida cut it to 3. They hit a lob pass to Chisholm. He shoots it over. He doesn't get contested. Makes another basket, doesn't get contested. And then Irving Walker's shot is blocked by Scotty Hobson, who, again, has a foot on him. So the length of Tennessee was certainly an issue. I don't know if it was flatness for Florida in the beginning of the game, as much as it was Tennessee came out and played physical, and the officials, it reminded me of the SEC championship game in football. Clearly, the officials were not going to call holding. Well, in this game, they weren't going to call fouls in the first half. They just weren't going to do it. So you had a lot of plays where Tennessee was physical with them, and Florida didn't respond well to that. That's what I think, again, because they're not a physical team, sometimes they can't respond to a team that plays physical.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say, or fair to say, that probably Billy Donovan, the recruiter, has failed Billy Donovan as the coach in this situation, because you don't have the athletic guys to match up with superior teams in the SEC, or probably, going ahead in the NCAA tournament if they make it to that matter, or the SEC tournament. I mean, you just take a look at over the years, you recruit a guy like a Jimmy Sutton over Corvatney Barber, who's at Auburn right now, a leading rebounder, a guy that can really help you. And it just seems like, over the last few years, trying to get those athletic guys that could maybe complement a Nick Calathis or Chandler Parsons, for whatever reason, it just didn't materialize scholarship-wise. Maybe a Derwin Kitchen could have helped them if they could have got him into school. Maybe a Danielle Mack could have helped them. Exactly. But the reality is right now, personnel-wise, this is a very limited team.
Well, it is. And so I was talking to Billy after we were done writing, and we had a nice conversation in the hall about things. And he said, look, the plays there at the end of the game where Tennessee's length won out, they can't do anything about that. What they can do something about is making the other plays that they're capable of making, and that's what bothered him the most, is they didn't make some plays. There was the one play where Calathis drove the baseline, and this was a dumb play. You just can't do that. You got to get rid of the ball. And obviously, getting in those two 15-point holes, they fought back from. You got to give them credit for that, but it was a big loss for the Gators, and right now they're sitting here out of the NCAA tournament. I think they have to win both these last two games, and win one in the SEC tournament to get in.
Yeah, and I agree. 3 in a row would probably get you in at this point, and. Looking ahead to Mississippi State, it certainly looked more daunting on the schedule probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. But right now they're having a little bit of turmoil in Starkville too. They've lost 3 in a row. They haven't played very well. But Starkville is a tough place to play. The Hump is a tough place to play, and you still have Jarvis Fernardo, a big athletic guy inside that can impact shots.
Yeah, and again, the matchup is not good for Florida physically, but there are very few that are in this league for Florida right now. But I watched Mississippi State Saturday night. That looks like a team that's given up. That was right there on the verge. They're playing LSU for the lead. They lose that game in overtime, and then since then have done nothing. And it's almost like, it's not going well for us. So they're out of the tournament. Right now you've got LSU obviously is locked. South Carolina is close to a lock. Probably needs to win against Tennessee Thursday night. And I don't know who else is getting in right now. I mean, if Tennessee should be right there with their RPI, but they better finish strong. And Kentucky right now is out of the tournament. Florida's out of the tournament. Mississippi State's out of the tournament. it's going to be a slim pickings when the committee starts looking at the resumes.
Yeah, looking ahead, if Florida wins, I mean, that could very well be a playoff game, the Florida-Kentucky game.
Yeah.
But first, you have to take care of business at Mississippi State, no question. I think Tennessee's in pretty good shape, and I think a reason why is their non-conference schedule. I mean, just playing the tough teams that they played, playing a team like, and beating a team like Marquette, beating Georgetown, I think it's really going to serve them well down the road. It would be nice for them to finish strong, but, and I think there's something to be said for that, having Tennessee this prepared in March, you know what I mean, and maybe something that Billy will evaluate in the future in terms of his non-conference schedule. And I know that they're working on some things with a team like a Clemson or a team like
West Virginia,
maybe UConn in the SEC Big East Challenge down the road, where they might toughen up that non-conference schedule a little bit so that they can maybe be better prepared for these games in March.
Well, again, you schedule obviously for your team, for what you have, and he knew he had a young team, so I think that goes into it. Talking to Larry Scheid about that last week, that had a lot to do with why they scheduled the way they did. And next year, we'll have a more veteran team, assuming Kalatis does come back, and you'll have a team that's a little bit better suited. So I think you will see the schedule. And again, for Tennessee, they have a veteran team, so they scheduled a little tougher. And the weird thing about Tennessee, though, is we were talking about this today. To me, they've achieved. They haven't overachieved. They haven't underachieved. They've achieved, maybe on the side of underachieving. That team, to have lost as many games as they have, it's stunning to me. And I still think in the tournament, when they get to the NCAA tournament, they could be Elite Eight or one and done.
And they really could have buried Florida in that game, and they did let them back. They do have, lapses in focus throughout the game. I think they're kind of a team that does that as well. And, you can credit Florida for battling back and making some threes. Florida made 13 threes in that game.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising. They were 13 of 29. They really did shoot themselves back in the game. But some of that was, maybe Tennessee's, lapses defensively and thinking that when you're up by double digits, you kind of have that comfortable margin. But certainly Florida needs to come out and get off to a better start against Mississippi State.
Yeah, for some reason Tennessee only shoots threes against Florida. The rest of the league, they're shooting 27%. Against Florida, they'll obviously have knocked them down, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that if Florida helps down low where they have mismatches, then they leave the open threes. If they go out and extend, they're going to get killed down low. They just don't have answers defensively right now, but we'll see if maybe they do in Starkville at the Hump when Florida plays Mississippi State. We'll come back next time and tell you about that game and also preview the final regular season game of the season against the mighty Kentucky Wildcats. Till next time, Kevin Brockway, Pat Dooley, the Gainesville Sun saying so long from the Sunshine State.